If you would like to leave your camera off, that is absolutely fine. We do ask that you would leave your microphone muted for the time being, unless you have a question, and then we'll talk about how you can ask your question, what features you can use to make sure that you can ask your question. All right, so we can go ahead and move forward. So as I said, I'm Tisha Eller, and I am the Northwest and Western Virtual Instruction Consultant from the Office of Virtual Instruction Services at North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And I have other members of my team here with me today. So the next slide will show you that we have 5 folks on our team. We have Nikisha Rucker, Betsy Hicks, Iris Ellington, Christine Barbario, and myself, and we serve the whole state as virtual instruction consultants. And we appreciate everybody joining us this evening. Our facilitators for today are Tisha Duncan. She's the principal from Person County Schools Virtual Academy. We also have Jordan Vaughan, who's a high school math teacher from Person County Schools Virtual Academy. So I'm going to turn it over to them in just a second, and they'll tell you more about themselves. So I'm not going to steal their thunder. But I do want to show you really quickly, if you're unfamiliar with Teams, there are some icons that you should be able to see at the top of your screen. So if you'll click, there we go, one more slide. So you should see a chat bubble. There are occasions, sometimes people are unable to use the chat. So if you can't, you're welcome to unmute and speak if the chat feature doesn't show for you. But you should also see a people feature, a raise hand feature. That's if you want to speak, you can click the raise hand and then we'll call on you. That one feature is different in that you actually have to click it again to lower your hand. That's the only one you have to do it with. Then there's a reaction button where you can do a smiley face, a heart, a thumbs up. I think you can even show a sad face. And then you should have a camera icon and a microphone icon where you can turn your camera on if you want, or you could turn your microphone on to speak. So we're going to do a quick test run of those features to see if you can access the chat. So what I would love for you to do is just drop in the chat whether you are a parent, caregiver of a student, or are you an educator of students? All right. So we have a couple of both. Some parents. We have some that are both educator and parent. Okay, so the other thing we're going to test is the reaction button, and that's the smiley face. And when I click on that, I have a thumbs up, a heart, claps, a wow face, and a big old grin. So I want to ask you how you feel about pineapple on pizza. Awesome. Okay. Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. So you can use those reactions to love things that are said. You can use the raise hand if you've got a question. If you have a question, you can drop it in the chat. And some of us virtual instruction consultants will try to answer those while Tisha and Jordan are presenting. So at this point, I'm going to let Tisha take over. I'm going to mute my microphone and they are going to start their presentation.
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are excited to be able to share a little bit about our little big school that does mighty things in our neighborhood here. So we are Person County Schools Virtual Academy, and I am the principal there. And I have with me one of my amazing staff members who has been with me since opening day, Ms. Jordan Vaughan. And tonight we are going to be talking about communication and what that looks like in the virtual setting, and how we can be effective communicators and collaborators. And before we begin, I wanted to give you just a little bit of background and context for our program and how that looks. Virtual programs look different. People tend to have a vision in their head based on their own experiences of what virtual instruction looks like or what a virtual school looks like. And so I want to give you a little bit of that overview so that as we go through our time together this evening, you will know the lens through which we are viewing our communication efforts and our goals and intentions to provide high quality virtual instruction. So we are in our 4th year of opening. We opened in 2021. And so in that first year, it was still a COVID transition year. We did not open in Person County as part of a COVID initiative. That had been in our strategic plan previously. And so our board had intentionally had that in mind. We had been using virtual programming through North Carolina Virtual Public Schools as a way to help to support our course offerings. And so the district had a vision in the strategic plan to be able to expand that and be able to offer to more students and also to bring some of that in-house so that there were opportunities for local teachers to be able to also provide virtual instruction. And so that was our opening year. We brand new open school. We served initially grades K through 12 in that first year, and into the second year, year 2, we served elementary, middle, and high school. For the last 2 years, we have shifted primarily due to enrollment and interest and an overall shift in our service delivery. We are primarily focused on middle secondary in the last 2 years. We did phase out our 5th grade last year in elementary, and then this year has been grades 6 through 12. And when we have a group of core students who are fully enrolled in Person County Schools Virtual Academy, they are 100% virtual. They are virtual from their homes or wherever they are located. We also serve all of our schools, secondary schools in the district, through a flex or hybrid program where students go into the building and some of their classes are offered virtually. And then my staff members are able to meet with those students through Google Classroom and have access to them. So we, again, work with our 2 middle schools, our early college, our high school, and our alternative learning program, in addition to our full-time students. So we have a core group of students that are enrolled, but across the district, we serve just under 1,000 students across our district. And Person County has right at 4,000 or so, just over, students. So we are serving virtually and impacting our students in that way. So our communication and our collaboration with all of our stakeholders is very important. I have a very small team of staff who really are focused on content areas, and then they serve multiple grade levels or multiple classes in their content areas. And then I am the sole administrator and secretary and assistant principal and instructional coach. And so my team and I in that way work very closely. So I just wanted to give you that brief background so that you would have an understanding there. And then I'm going to let Jordan introduce herself and just talk a little bit from the teacher's perspective, how her role differs from when she was a classroom teacher. Yes, Tess, it is a lot of work, but we have a lot of fun. We work hard. We use that motto of work hard and play hard. So, and it is because we are so small and we do loop with our students, and Ms. Vaughan can talk about that a little bit. So my students that started with me in our opening year were in 5th grade, and now they are in 8th grade, and they we loop each year, and so they have the same teachers, and we get to know them and their families. We know the pets that walk by in the background. We know that when they've changed locations. We know when they're having a break and they're going to go make their lunch and eating class. So we really are just a large family in that way. And then again, we get to see our in-person students in the buildings, and so we get to be familiar with them in their in-person settings as well. So we're really kind of a unique perspective. So the rewards are great, and we're doing something that's just out of the box and very different. Everyone, I think, that is involved in virtual education in some form or fashion does tend to think a little bit out of the box. I think we have to. It necessitates that. So, Jordan, you want to share?
Yeah, I'm Jordan. I was trying to think about what year of teaching I'm in. I think I'm in my 13th year of teaching. So I was in the, traditional high school setting for 9 years, and this is my 4th year at the Virtual Academy. Like Dr. Duncan said, we do loop with our kids. So I am their teacher. I am their math teacher. So that I hope that they love that they get to have me year after year, but it's been really cool. So currently, my day kind of looks like I see almost every middle and secondary school in the county. So my first period is Math 1, and I have the advanced middle school students who are taking Math 1 at the middle school, and they need that high school course, and it's not offered in their building, so they join me. And so it's 2 different middle schools, and then our Virtual Academy students are also in that group. And then I teach an honors pre-calc, and that group is a group that's just Virtual Academy, so it's a little bit smaller. So our class sizes vary just based off what we need to cover that semester. And so they have been a group that I have taught since the 8th grade, and we've actually kind of we have expedited their math a little bit because we were able to focus on them and just do double up in a school year, which has been really cool. So they've had me for 8th grade math 1, math 2, math 3, and now pre-calc, which has been really fun. And then my class after that is a math 2, which is also a blended between some high school students that are in the building, some middle school students who are super duper advanced, and then some Virtual Academy kids who are at home taking that class. And then I also have a math 3, which is also mostly just virtual students. I think I have 1 in there that's from a student in the building. So it's a variety all day long. One thing I've loved about it, although when I tell other math teachers that I teach Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, Math 4, pre-calc, and everything, they get a little bit like, how do you do that? I'm like, the benefit is that my day is not boring. I get to teach different content all day long. I used to hate being like, I remember when I taught Math 2 all day long, and by the end of the day, I was like, I don't even know what I've said to what class. And so that's been a cool experience, especially the looping feature. So let me think of some other things special about. So like we said, we are unique in that we have students from the high school. So at one point, we helped out the high school because they had a math teacher who had to leave in the middle of the semester, and I was able to pick up that class. And the cool thing about that is I had looped with those Math 1 and 2 students while they were at the middle school level. And then I took them on as Math 3 students while they were in the building. And so you really get to know, I feel like I have gotten to know so many different kids around the county. And just now when I don't live in Roxborough, but when I'm in Roxborough, I'm going to run into somebody. And it's been really cool that when I go in to do any kind of event, the kids, they actually talk to me and they'll run up and be like, Miss Vaughan, you're real. And so that has been really cool. But our actual Virtual Academy students, since we have seen them in the building for the last 4 years, they really warm up to you. And that's probably the most special part of the looping is it's difficult to get to know kids in a virtual setting. That's just part of it. It's not the same as traditional setting. But when they've come into my classroom for 4 years in a row, they really warm up. And it's been a really cool experience to, like, I just feel like I love them more every year because they talk to me more and get to know me more. And it's just been really great. So a little bit about me.
And I didn't, and thank you, Jordan, because you helped me to remember to explain just a little bit. So while we instruct and do all of our instruction virtually for our core group of Virtual Academy students, as you all know, possibly that we are required to assess them in person. And so we actually do share a facility We live on the third floor of our traditional high school here in Person County, so we have that space as ours. We are in the same building, but we're completely separate schools. So we have, obviously I'm the principal and there's a high school principal, but we share that floor. We have our own school colors, our own logo. And so we have community days twice a month for my staff. So they come into campus for those 2 community days. It's when we have our PLCs, our staff meetings, and we connect with our students. Those are also our assessment days. And so students will come on campus. For my middle grade students, that typically means they're on campus about once a month. And so my high school students, they typically come, I'd say more like twice a semester for their main assessments. And so that is our world that we are living with. And so we just are excited about that. So Tess, that's really great that you're familiar with living in that same world too. And it's also really great as an administrator and, working in North Carolina and knowing that there are a variety of types of virtual programs. So to hear how other districts and schools are doing that and to meet the needs of their population is really interesting to me. The looping feature, when it goes well, the students love it. When they are tired of us, they let us know. So my students reach out to me, and in the high school, one of my funny stories was I had a student I had been working with, and so she emailed and she was like, okay, so I need to meet with a counselor. And I said, okay, that's me. So let's set up a time. And a little while later, we had that meeting and she emailed me back. She said, oh, I need to get my transcript. Who do I talk to? I said, that's me. And so she emailed and she said, okay. And then she said, all right, I need to meet with my advisor. Who's that? And I said, me. She said, is there anybody else there that I can talk to? And I said, no, love bug, it's all me. So I can bring in a teacher with you. And so, again, we do laugh about that. And she graduated and did wonderful. But that was she's like, I've talked to you. Who else is available? And so, but tonight, what were we going to be working on tonight? So we are going to talk about those diverse perspectives and meeting that common goal. Our sort of motto that we go by, that we live by at the Virtual Academy is student first. Everything that we do, every decision that we make, even the hard ones, especially the hard ones, we make with the mindset that students come first. And so tonight we want to just talk about what that means in terms of interacting respectfully with others in a digital and in person, how to ask questions, how to synthesize those messages so that we can have a good feedback cycle, that everyone is involved in the conversation, engaging in productive communication when there are agreements, and how to resolve those and problem solve those. We talk a lot with our students that just because you're in a virtual environment does not mean you're going to escape dialogue and critical conversations. And so how to have those. And sometimes students come to us because they've had a really difficult time in the building, whether that's social, emotional, or behavioral or academic. And one of the things that we often look for, we are a school that students apply to us. So we have an application process and they complete that application. We also do student interviews with the students who are interested, just so that they know what they're signing up for. We are not emergency COVID learning. We are not a fully asynchronous program. We require our cameras to be on. And so we just want everyone to understand the expectations, to be able to make sure that everyone's making the best educational decision for the student. And then again, increasing that and enhancing stakeholder engagement and knowing that we are a community and that we all share the ownership for that. So that is what we hope to achieve tonight. So we've talked a little bit about this in terms of what are the characteristics for effective communication. So if you're willing, I'd love for you to put in the chat box what you feel are just in general effective communication characteristics. What does that look like for you? Timely, yes. More ideas? So yes, timeliness is part of that. Welcoming, inclusive, absolutely. Yes, asking questions for clarification when you don't understand. Yes. And all of those are pieces of that. What we have learned when new families come to us, we have to be explicit in our instruction, and we have set up so that all of our Google Classrooms are set up in the same way. Our communication methods amongst our staff are done in the same way. Our teachers have office hours, and families know how to reach them. And so we have multiple modes of communication. And so that, I think you all have mentioned the things that are important. And generally speaking, a lot of times what I will share with people who are learning about virtual and what that means is that it's not, the core and the foundation is not that different from what you would do for good teaching practices in any learning environment. And so all of the characteristics for effective communication that you would want in person, to be engaged, to be connected, to be heard, to be seen, to have a clear understanding. We strive to do that in the virtual setting as well. And so we talk a lot as a team about what can we set up on our end, what can we establish on our end that makes that process seamless, so that students from year to year and from grade to grade and from teacher to teacher know what to expect and know what our community days on campus will look like. They will know our routines. If I am a parent, and I'm also a self-proclaimed type A, so routines are important. And so when I had my daughter, my husband was like, wow, that is a lot of structure for a 2-year-old. I said, you will thank me. And we say often we are a house of routines. And so we try and do that as well as part of communication. So good comments. Thank you for those. Kindness. Yes. In a world where you can be a lot of things, be kind. All right. So diverse perspectives. As I shared in the beginning, and we will talk about as we're going through, we deal with a lot of different learning types of platforms. There are a lot of virtual tools out there. I would say in our first year, we did them all. Give us all the things. And in the fourth year, we have become very intentional with the selection of our tools because we heard feedback from families that said there are a lot of great platforms, but we feel overwhelmed. And I heard from my staff that, yes, these are really great things, but they're not things that I'm using often enough. And so, yes, less is more. And so we talk about depth and breadth and how to really emphasize that quality over quantity. And so that all came from feedback. And again, feedback is a part of communication. We talked a little bit, I spoke about the instructor expectations, making them clear, and really having a really good understanding of asynchronous versus synchronous learning. So asynchronous is fully independent, no live interaction or communication like we're doing this evening. And then synchronous is a live time. And our students loop throughout the day between synchronous and asynchronous learning. So we do follow a traditional school day between 8 and 3. We have a 5-6 period day. They are in class assigned about 65 minutes, 65 to 70 minutes. If they are in middle grades, we also follow developmentally appropriate practices for online and health and wellness and looking at the whole child. So our students are live between 30 and 35 minutes. They log off, they're doing their independent work. We're still monitoring them through our Go Guardian, and we're facilitating, asking, and supporting. Our high school students tend to stay on longer, between 45 and 50 minutes, to make sure that they're getting that, again, developmentally more intense instruction. And then they'll also have the opportunity to log off before their next period. We are fully synchronous 4 days a week. 1 day a week, we are fully asynchronous. It doesn't mean they have the day off. It means they're not doing live meetings. And so that for us, that is on Wednesdays. And we have found that to be a really good processing day. We meet with parents that day. We pull in and have students come to office hours. And that day looks a little differently. And I'm going to let Ms. Vaughan talk about, how her time between synchronous and asynchronous looks.
Yes, and while you were sharing that, I was thinking about for parents, these diverse presentation styles and platforms can be overwhelming. I think for whether your kids in the building or online, it's, having different teachers who use different things can be overwhelming. And if you don't feel that those expectations are clear, or you're like, I don't know what they're supposed to be doing for asynchronous learning versus synchronous, never hesitate to reach out. I always want my parents to be in the know. And so we find out things later on as we go about, things that were unclear. And so we can speak to what we do as a school, but we can't speak to every virtual school. So I would encourage you, if you ever feel like you're not really sure what's going on, you should ask. I would think most teachers want you to ask. So our asynchronous day, the way it goes for us, or for my classes, is on our live days, we meet, and then I have them do most of their classwork off of a call. And then I set up office hours if they need help. They can pop in and out. I try to make my office hours be very unintimidating. So I'm like, that's our camera off day. If you need to see me in office hours, you come in, camera off. You don't have to stay the whole time. You don't, I only ever force kids to go if they are not passing. But our Wednesdays is our day to really get caught up on that kind of thing. So when kids are working asynchronously, they'll have teachers to reach out to and to ask about that sort of thing. So that's kind of how it works in the math classroom, especially because there's a lot of practice that goes on in math. Sometimes we practice on a call, sometimes we practice independently, but there's always access to communication if they're feeling stuck.
Yes, thank you. We did Tess as well transition to Infinite Campus this year, so that's been a learning curve for us. So I see a raised hand, Nadine.
Hi, I do apologize. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I've been having trouble with I call it the ring of death, when it just freezes on you and I can't type in the chat box, and I'm here and I'm getting hellos from everyone. So good evening to everyone. Okay. I'm a parent of a student who is in Cumberland Virtual Academy. She's in the 6th grade. She's been in the program since the age of, since I'm going to say 2nd grade. She's actually been in your program. My son graduated just last year from high school. Wonderful program. I'm just, as a parent, my feedback, I know you're running through all these things here because my computer keeps freezing. Parents need to participate in this as well with the teachers. They need to help the teachers. I mean, when I mean engage, you need to engage with your child. Yeah. The teachers cannot do this, and I'm only telling you from experience. Like I said, my son, my daughter, since the 2nd grade, and having them in virtual schooling, which they've done phenomenal and continue with this program. So I can only pray that this program goes further. But listening and sometimes coming into the classroom, listening to my daughter's, other students' conversations, the respect for the teachers have to be held as well in virtual. Have to. And yeah, when I mean respectful, because I've heard quite disturbing conversations taking place, and the teachers are trying to figure out where it's coming from when they're coming into these chat rooms, and students trying to learn. So this is one of my things that I struggle with when it comes to students who are engaging, who are doing well in this program, teachers trying hard. But when you have other students, which happens in brick and mortar as well, you have interruptions. I know, I understand that, but how can we help fix this and help the teachers as well? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. And it goes right into what we're talking about with interacting respectfully. And so we at our virtual academy, when students go through our application process, we have a common set of expectations that we say as teachers in the virtual academy, as students in the virtual academy, and as parents in the virtual academy. And it is a set of expectations that everyone signs. And it does speak to what our expectations are during synchronous time, which are, that you have your camera that works, that you are respectful in your conversation, that you have a designated workspace, that you have headphones, that you are muted when you're not speaking, that you are using tools that you would use just like you would in person, raising your hand or answering or participating. And so when we have had times when there are things happening in the background that we've just respectfully, privately chatted with the student to say, hey, remember, put your headphones on or please mute. We've had instances where we've had to remove students from class and then call to talk with the parent about, what you were speaking with, which is, this is our community. And so we also try and give examples of what it may seem like in a brick and mortar setting. And so that we've said, here we're giving a presentation and someone's barging in and talking, and we would all be, like, why, what happened? And that's the same thing that happens virtually. I have to experience that because I do walkthroughs of all my classrooms. And so because my students are so, engaged, and especially with Miss Vaughan's classes that might be at other schools that don't necessarily know who I am, they will report me quickly when I come in. They'll be like, Miss Vaughan, who's that? Why is she here? Or she's like, I'm sorry to interrupt. So again, that establishing community, you'll hear me keep saying that. So much part of communication comes through relationships and trust and community. They all go together. Asynchronous, again, time management, office hours, using the resources that are available. And you are exactly right, Nadine. Being an engaged parent is helpful. And at the same time, we say to parents, work through this with your student because you've already been through 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. We're not expecting you to sit all day and be with your student in class. That's not realistic. But when you are there, speak with them, ask them questions. This will come up on a slide, is, parents having access to all of our platforms and being able to log in as the parent portal and being able to see that. And so that leads into our feedback cycle and what that looks like for us. We are required to have grades posted weekly. So there are opportunities for parents to consistently and students to consistently see where they stand. And parents should be there checking behind those students weekly, asking questions. I will tell you, and my staff will tell you, and my students will tell you, they are our first line of a communication. One of the expectations that we go through in the application process with the student is to say, you are responsible for your learning. And so we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to make you a part of that. And so when we have a problem or when we have a concern or when we have a praise, that's going to go directly to our students first. And then we are, and our students, a lot of them will appreciate that. I know Miss Vaughan sees that. They tell her, thank you for giving me a chance and not talking to my mama yet. And so we have a time frame, again, expectations. We have a late work policy that we will accept the late work, but it has a procedure with it. And it's not for full credit. And so again, our goal is to put students first, but teach them through that process and teach them those skills that they need once they leave us or once they leave the virtual setting. We want them to take those same communication skills into the non-cloud world in their interactions. So
I can go off that a little bit, Dr. Duncan. I think, and we're going to get to another slide about this in a second, but with this feedback cycle, one thing I think that would be really positive and beneficial on the parent side would be for parents to have the logins to every single thing that their child can access. Especially Infinite Campus, that I wouldn't even bother with the parent portal. I would go straight in as my student. I think that you can seeing things on their end, being able to help them navigate things from their side of the screen is a big support for a virtual school. And so if you can see, log into them as in Google Classroom or Canvas or whatever platform your school uses and see what they see, that's also helpful as well. Another thing that's helpful between parent teacher, I get a lot of parents that ask me, did they make this up? Are they doing this? So it's like, if you have these logins, you can just see live time what's going down. So I think that would be a really helpful thing, is being able to just kind of log in as if you were them. I do think also, the feedback cycle of grades are posted, parents are looking at grades. And so not only, the expectation of teachers grading on time, students doing work on time, but everybody's up to date with what the grades are, all at the same time. That way it's not, the end of the quarter or the end of the semester, when is everybody's favorite time to catch up on work. But I think that, everybody is different. And I think for me, I respond to email a lot faster than I ever did in my life as a traditional teacher, because I'm sitting at my desk all day. And so it's like, if I get an email, it's pretty quick response. And so that's really helpful also in the virtual setting, is that it is a little bit easier to communicate back and forth, because teachers are actually at their laptops, whereas in the traditional setting, they're everywhere. And so with that, I think, if a student needs me, I tell them, email me. I might not email them back if it's 9 p.m. It's going to be the next school day. But if it's during the school day, they're getting an email back from me that day. And I think that's a crucial piece too on the teacher side, is that quick turnaround time. And so, yeah.
Yep. And we are working with our students. That also gives us an opportunity for email etiquette and professional communication and timely responses. And again, each opportunity for us is an opportunity to teach. This next section we've alluded to, we're moving into that, is just really looking at why is effective communication important. And I think as Mrs. Vaughan shared, having that opportunity to be with students. And if you're not comfortable logging in, or you don't have that ability, sit beside your student and let them lead you through their day. Let them lead you through their platform. My students know how to make screenshots. They know how to walk through all of these things. My teachers provide, onboarding and support. We share screens, and so that we can get everyone involved, but knowing how to do that. This for us, again, this is what we offer. So my students are enrolled in the Virtual Academy. Our primary platform that we use as our learning management system is Google Suite. And so everything is directly through Google Classroom. However, and again, we just switched from PowerSchool to Infinite Campus. So that is a portal that needs to be accessed, where the grades and the attendance are. My students also have the opportunity to take courses on Edgenuity. They take honors classes and STEM classes through the North Carolina School of Science and Math. And they also take electives, some of them, on North Carolina Virtual Public School. So for my students, yes, potentially they have 4 logins. I also have students in 11th and 12th grade who participate in classes as dual enrolled high school students with our local community college, Piedmont Community College. And some people hear that and they go, oh my goodness, that's so many logins. Friends, they have that many or more social media accounts. They can handle it. If they can dance and post on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of the Snapchat, and all of the hidden ones that they think we don't know about, they can also log in to their learning platform. So it's not too much.
And I always tell them, I'm like, as soon as they graduate, they're going to have your bank account login. You're going to have all these different, we log in as professionals, we log into a bajillion different platforms all the time. So although it can be overwhelming for them, it's also great practice for the real world.
Did anybody have any other platforms that you're using? I know some schools use Canvas. Any other ones that are used? In the college setting, we had Blackboard, Moodle. Those are some of the older ones. And we're a one-to-one district, so our students all have laptops. So we issue those Chromebooks. Okay, Canvas. Thank you, Chess.
So I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head, but there is one where it's like a single sign-on, where you can put all your apps through.
Clever?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
some of them have Clever, and then they
that's
can
right.
just go
Yeah,
that.
be able to log through there as well. So productive communication, what have we found that has worked well for us? So we do have a school website, just like any other school. And I have a core group of people who look at that website religiously. I also have people who have no idea that it exists, right? So that is common as well. So we put it out there. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Sunday night from me. I use a S'more account, which is lovely. It is integrated on our weekly website, on our school website. So if you miss it in your email, I have the ability to send that weekly newsletter to email, text, link to the website. So it is available. And my teachers regularly use the Google Classroom announcement feature. It is where they call them to class, they send them to class. They reiterate things that are coming up. For example, tomorrow for us is an on-campus assessment day for my middle grade students. And so they have their outlined and what to expect tomorrow. The teacher contact information is available. We use social media through our district. We also use Remind as a text feature to communicate. GoGuardian is one of my absolute must-haves as a virtual administrator. GoGuardian is a platform that allows us to monitor our students' laptops in live time. So we can see exactly what they're doing on their laptop. We can communicate directly with them. We can screenshot their laptops. We can.
My favorite feature is closing their tab.
Out the tab.
I'll be like, yes. Oh, that YouTube video looks interesting.
Yes. And what, you know, some people would be maybe feeling like that is invading a student's privacy, but in some ways you have to say, if they were sitting in a classroom with me and I was walking around looking over their shoulder, I could see what they're doing. So this allows us to facilitate our instruction in a way that makes sure that in live real time we can give feedback, and Ms. Vaughan can say, I'm watching you do that math problem. That was the wrong, you missed a step, and do that instant correction. And so that's important for us. Our teachers do phone, and yes, just like in an old school traditional, I'm going to go way old school and say that we loved going to the computer lab to play the Oregon Trail. So I've come a long way in my virtual life. Again, and our parents, yes, having that immediate feedback is beneficial. And it's, and just on a note that's important to me, GoGuardian monitors my students' laptops, and when there are mental health concerns, that it alerts me immediately. And I have been available to support immediately several students over the last 4 years and get them the help that they need because of the ability to be that close with them. And so they were not home alone. We are with our students. And so that's a really important piece for us, is they are not alone.
If I can chime in on that too, I was thinking about this earlier today. That is something that's hard. It's slower for us to find out about the mental health struggles that our students are facing regularly. And so because we loop, it gets easier with the kids we know better. We can see changes in them. But I would just encourage. I love when parents reach out to me if something's going on that I need to know about, and they give me that feedback. That way, I'm not yelling at someone because they're coming in camera off. Like, they might need a camera off day, and I'm getting that feedback from the parent so that I can then be prepared to then best teach them that day. Because the last thing that's going to make someone want to learn math is when their teacher is upset with them about, something small, when really they've got big stuff going on at home or inside or whatever is going on. So parents, if you do have something going on that you feel comfortable sharing with the teacher, that helps us to be able to navigate the learning environment a little bit better, since we don't get to pick up on it as rapidly as we would if we were in person.
Yep. And just to chime in with that, if you're a parent that is able to be at home with your child, We love when our parents do pop in and say, or a student will say, can I meet with you after class? My mom has a question. And so we loved being able to do that with our, and if we can't, our teachers will say, I can't today, but let me schedule a time. But if you're a parent who can be there and be home and be available, please walk by, give us a wave, and we know that you're there. And the students know that we're there and that we're all, together there. So our final part is really moving into just how can we build those communication skills for our students. And it is all about the entire team being engaged. So everyone who is a stakeholder, and how can they be engaged and what does that look like? And so I alluded to this earlier. We have a teacher, student, and family responsibility agreement, and it just explicitly outlines what each person, so including my staff, it says what teachers will do. They will be available. They will communicate. They will follow the curriculum. They will be available. They will instruct. Students will say, I will turn in my assignments. I will attend classes. I will use my camera. I will use headphones or be in an environment where I can be focused and intentional in my learning. Family, guardians, parents, their expectations are to, support the teachers and the students and to help them to get those things. So we all come into agreement with that. The responsibility belongs to all, and that's really important to us. We do not, and that goes back to student first and our students being our first line of communication. Sometimes in education, we talk about students and we talk around students, but we sometimes forget to talk to students about their education and why that's important. And for us, it is shifted so that we talk directly to them and hold them accountable. And many of our students will come to us and say, no one has ever asked me, like, y'all don't go away. Like, you keep asking me and you keep. And so, yes, we do that because we care and we want to see you do well. There are students that we've learned over the 4 years that the virtual environment might be just for a season. It's not their best for learning environment. And so we help to support to get them back into an in-person environment. And that's important for us too. Our 100% goal is for you to be in the environment that is best for you. It is not always virtual. It is not always traditional. It might be a hybrid approach. And so we work together on that. We have started this year offering quarterly showcase events. So that is a wonderful time where we do the traditional things of, perfect attendance and AB honor roll and A honor roll. So our families come on campus and we had an art show the last 2 times for one of our art class. Student art was put on display and they got to do an art walkthrough with their families. We also host an awards promotion ceremony at the end of the school year for our 5th grade and our 8th grade students to be able to highlight them and celebrate them, in addition to our seniors who we are graduating. I alluded earlier, we have a partnership with our local community college, so my students have the ability to earn those college credits, and we do offer field trips, and so we have visited the beach. We've done a walking tour of Uptown Roxborough and did a day in our local community. These things don't look like the traditional schools. Many of our families choose virtual because they don't necessarily have to want to do all the traditional things. So it's a much smaller group that we have that participates that. And then, of course, a school improvement team. And so our school improvement team is just very involved in terms of making sure that everything that we are doing is that student first mindset. And so you can see a picture here of our classroom decorated for our artwork. And then I just put a screenshot there of what my weekly newsletter to my families looks like. It's updates and information, goes out on Sunday evenings, and again, available on our website. I will quickly, I'm being mindful of our time, so I want to make sure, I'm going to switch and just share quickly. This is our, website. You can see we have our graphic here. We did a parent survey recently, and again, being in touch with our stakeholders and our parents and our students and asking them for feedback. You know, one of the things that we are celebrating right now is we have a 100% graduation rate, which is huge in North Carolina. And what has been wonderful for me in knowing, you know, why we're doing what we're doing each year, I would say 80% of the students that are with us as a 100% graduation rate have shared that they would, we were the last stop before they dropped out. And so we are correcting that. We are working that. And it is all about communicating and doing that. And so all of these things are available on our website. I'd love for you to visit that, learn more about us, and move to how we can, you know, learn about you, support you. If you're in another district, you know, please reach out to me, ask me questions, and you know. But as we get to the end of our time together, are there specific questions that you have about maybe how to connect with your school or your district, or a specific question for Mrs. Vaughan or myself?
But I would also encourage you, if you have questions,
Thank you.
that you can reach out to them directly. And I'm going to, if you'll go forward to the next slide really quickly. I just want folks to know we do have another parent webinar coming exactly a month. It's in March, and this one is Working Together While Apart, so a parent's path to making a difference. We have Dr. Tremaine Canteen from Cumberland Virtual Academy. She's the secondary principal, and she is going to be sharing with us. If you are interested, I will grab that registration link. If you are not registered, we would love for you to come to that webinar as well. But I appreciate everybody's interaction. I appreciate you two ladies so very much with everything that you've shared. Just spot on. And so all of your successes, all of your, I love that you put your data on your website. I just love that you have your parent data on your website. That is so fabulous.
Yeah, we can't do what we do without them. So, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for having us and letting us share a little bit about our little corner of the state. So, again,
Yes.
thanks. Loved the communication tonight.
Yes, I do see a couple people typing. I'm going to wait just a second, make sure we don't have a question that needs to be
Yeah, for
answered
sure.
before we end the meeting.
I'm going to go back to my main slide, if that's okay, since it has our emails on it.
Please do.
That way,
please do.
If anybody would like our email,
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, put that up on the screen. That way they can jot it down.
There you go. And so it's myself as well as Mrs. Vaughan.
Okay, but you might need to flip.
I'm
still seeing my screen. There you go. All right. All right.